again. How did we do with chapter 4? I loved getting your responses. I'm extremely proud of a lot of you. Those answers were amazing, and your proof, so good. So I'm going to give you a gigantic hug because I'm so proud of the amazing work you did on chapter 4 yesterday. Now we're going to start on chapter 5. So while we do that, let me pull up your questions. 1 second. Alright, for chapter 5 questions, we're going to talk about these before we start reading the chapter. That way you can already have them in your mind and think about what you should be listening for and stuff like that. So your first one, oh, that's not. 1 second again. There we go. Your first question that's in your packet, you get to use our packets today. Thank you for being understanding about not having our chapter 4 in our packet. But this is chapter 5 now, and it is there. So, chapter 5. The first question asks you, why does Danny like Aki? And then it says, provide evidence from the text to support your answer. So you will be giving me the reason why, and what from the story from the read aloud helped you find that answer, your proof. Next question is, why did Danny always want a little brother? So let me know your thoughts and show me proof. Chapter 5, next question, describe Aki using 2 character traits. So again, you're going to give me 2 separate words that describe Aki, and give me your proof from the story that helped you find the answer. So an example of that would be, let me describe you the students. You are smart. Your character trait is smart. My proof would be, the students in Miss Noriega's novel study class are smart because they answer in complete sentences and provide amazing proof in their answers. See how I explained how you were smart? That's exactly the way you need to be answering about Aki for this question, and you're giving me 2. So he's what and what. I will link in the assignment a poster that gives you different kinds of character traits. That way it can help you out in case you're having difficulty finding a word to describe him, or 2 words. The next question said, how does Aki's mother remind Danny of Mrs. Mills? Remember, Mrs. Mills is Danny's teacher from back in New York City. So how does Aki's mother remind him of her? And those are your questions for chapter 6. Don't forget, I'm going to include an exit ticket, a separate question in your assignment. So you will turn in a photo of these answers plus the exit ticket for grading. So now let's get into reading chapter 5. Chapter 5. Danny managed to grab Aki by the seat of his pants and hoist him up just in time. One of the monster's tusks tore through Danny's pant leg. Amazingly, it missed his flesh. Danny jerked back his leg, ripping his pants away from the tusk. He almost fell. But he regained balance and kept his hold on Aki, who was still screaming for his puppy. With Aki held high, Danny ran across the yard and into the house, slamming the door. My puppy! Aki screamed, my puppy! No, Danny said, putting the kid down and blocking the door. That's not yours. That's the monster's baby. Not Aki's puppy? Aki said, his eyes getting bigger. There were tears now. Sorry, little guy, Danny said, but that puppy has to be with its mom. Aki want puppy, he said, throwing his arms around Danny and burying his face in Danny's legs. This kid was a stitch. Danny had always wanted a little brother, someone to trail along with him and Finn, someone to keep him company when Ma was working. Where's your mom? Danny said. Mama mad at Aki said. And sure enough, just then Danny heard someone shouting Aki's name. Danny stuck his head out the window. I got him, he called. A moment later, he and Aki were standing on the porch with Aki's mother. Danny guessed she and Aki were Japanese. There were people from all over the world living here, just like in New York City. Lots of the people in Pearl City were originally from Japan, Ma had said. Aki, his mother scolded, you cannot be running away like this. I'm sorry, Mama, he said in a voice sweeter than a chocolate donut. He wrapped his arms around his mother's legs and gazed up at her with an angelic smile. Danny saw how the anger in Aki's mother's eyes melted away. This little kid was good. She looked at Danny and smiled. Even though she looked nothing like Mrs. Mills, there was something about her that reminded Danny of his teacher. A look in her eyes, like she could read his mind and liked what she saw. Thank you, she said. My son is a wanderer. The minute I turn my back, he sneaks away. We saw a monster, Aki said. A monster? The woman said, raising her eyebrows. It looks like a hairy pig, Danny said, with horns. A wild boar? Monster hurt Danny, Aki said, pointing to Danny's torn pants. Goodness, Aki's mother said with surprise. Did he really hurt you? Just my pants, Danny said. He decided not to tell Aki's mother how the boar almost turned Aki into a shish kebab. A shish kebab is a food where you put the meat on a stick. So remember, the boar almost got Aki, so that's what he meant. It almost turned Aki into a shish kebab. But it's very unusual for boars to attack, said Aki's mother. Aki got hold of one of its babies, Danny said. Puppy. Aki smiled. My puppy. Aki's mother shook her head. Aki sees the beauty in everything, his mother said, even a wild boar. But one of these days, Aki, you're gonna end up in big trouble. He's a good kid, Danny said, wanting to protect his new friend. Aye, good boy, Aki said, puffing out his chest. Danny and Aki's mother looked at each other, then they both laughed. The sound startled Danny. He hadn't laughed since the night Finn fell. Aki stared at both of them, trying to see what was funny. Then he grabbed Danny's hand and started to pull with all his might. Danny, come, Aki said. Danny, come over. Danny opened his mouth to say no thank you, but Aki kept shouting, Danny, come, and pulling on his hand, trying to haul him up the hill. For such a shrimp, the kid was a real muscle man. You might as well come, Aki's mother said. I have lunch just about ready, and as you can see, my son doesn't take no for an answer.